Joe, I mean, for the last 2 weeks, we've heard from them that they were going to get it going. They had a chance at home against the Buffalo Bills to finally beat a team with a winning record. That didn't happen. They got embarrassed in that game. They come here against a team that had a lot to prove, but was struggling in a lot of areas, and it was the same old story.
Strong words from Troy. Shannon, is he right?
You know, not totally, because, Skip, like you said, they're still in first in the division. They can lose another game. All they got to do is win 2 of 3. They can lose to the Rams, beat Philly, and then close out against Washington, and they win the division. That's, I mean, you know, they can be 8-8 and win the division. But Troy, and Skip, you can tell it pains Troy, because Troy is a Cowboy. He through and through Cowboy.
No doubt.
And
he still lives in Dallas.
He still lives in Dallas. And it pains him. But Troy, one thing about Troy is not delusional, not like most Cowboy fans.
He's very objective.
And he said, Skip, he's like, I'm just tired of all the talking. They told us that they're going to, you know, they wanted to come to beat Buffalo, a winning team. Didn't happen. They wanted to come here against a team that was struggling but was okay, and it didn't happen. And at some point in time, but he also, Troy has tried to make it abundantly clear, without saying Jerry, Jason, yeah, the coaching, but it's a problem, but it's not the main problem. He understands, I think he knows what the main problem is. And that's the guy that hired the coach that undercuts him at every turn and does not give him the voice that he needs to try to be the coach that he wants. Because there's always Jerry is second guessing and undermining him publicly. And so Troy, I disagree with him on that, Skip, that you know, I don't know how they come back. Easy. Win 2 games. Win 2 of the next 3 games, and you win the division.
Okay. So it has been extremely difficult for Troy Aikman sitting in that chair, in that booth with Joe Buck, to prove to the NFL world outside Cowboy Nation that he will be objective calling a Cowboy game.
Yes.
And he has achieved that.
Yes.
Nobody doubts how objective he is. Sometimes I think he's almost too objective about the Dallas Cowboys because he needs to be. He's a Dallas Cowboy Hall of Famer. So I understand where he's heading with this. But I'm going to remind everybody, speaking of Troy, I wrote a whole book about the year 1995 that they somehow won the Super Bowl in spite of themselves, the Dallas Cowboys, featuring Dion and Charles Haley and Emmett and Michael. But that year, on December 3rd, so we're right in the same time frame, they blew a game at home to Norv Turner's Washington Redskins, who were about to finish 6-10. They lost at home 24-17, and it felt like the whole sky fell through the roof at Texas Stadium. And they came right back the next week and went to Philly and lost. And that was 3 losses in 5 games, because the first loss was at home to Jerry Rice and Steve Young and company. And Jerry Rice ran wild on them, embarrassed them 38-20 at home. So it felt like the wheels were coming off, and they finished that year by barely holding off the Giants at home 21-20. They finished 5-11, and then they went to Arizona and had a pretty good game, but that team was 4-12 in the finish. So the point was they stumbled home that year, but they were so talented. This team, this is a really talented football team. That team was a more talented one, but it flipped the proverbial switch when it came time for the postseason. And boom, they beat Philly, and boom, they beat Brett Favre, and boom, they went and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl. They turned it around. So obviously, no team in sports inspires more over-emotional overreaction than the Dallas Cowboys do. No team does. So today in Dallas and Cowboy Nation, the sky has fallen on everybody. But I just don't, to your point, and I'm surprised you're saying that, there's still this glimmer of hope just because the Eagles have allowed it. And somebody still has to win this division.
Absolutely.
You can disqualify it. You could say that in the big picture, neither deserves to go to the playoffs, and you would be right about that.
I mean, Skip, you got to realize, didn't Seattle won a division 1 year, 7-8-1?
They did. They sure did.
Okay.
So 8-8 is probably going to win this division. I don't know, 7-9 could win this division before it's over. But the point is, I get what Troy's saying because he's old school. He learned under Norv Turner and Jimmy Johnson. And he learned it's hard to just go like that after you have a sorry December. It's hard. You have to be really talented. Well, this team is really talented, and there's some X factor in there,
But
some reason they haven't clicked yet, and I don't know what it is. I keep waiting for
But
it
the
to.
difference is, Skip, those teams, even though they were struggling, they were defending. They had won back-to-back Super Bowls, so they knew what it took.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
that was that was one saving grace that they had.
That is true, and they should have won the previous year, and they lost at Candlestick in the NFC Championship game. So the point is, I'm with Troy in the big picture, but the little picture, the sorry little picture, no, they can come back from this.
Yeah, it's like the driver's license.